Nobody taught you how money actually works. Not in school, not at home, not in any personal finance course that told you to cut your lattes and open a savings account. What you were taught was how to manage money. What you were never taught was how to think about it, how power, perception, and psychology shape every financial outcome in your life before a single dollar ever changes hands. Robert Greene spent years studying the most powerful people in history. Conquerors, politicians, merchants, artists, people who built empires from nothing and lost them overnight. And in 48 Laws of Power, buried beneath the strategy and the court intrigue and the ruthless maneuvering, is a blueprint for how wealth actually moves. Not how it should move, how it does, right now. In your life. In every negotiation, every career decision, every financial relationship you have ever been in. Most people read the 48 Laws as a book about manipulation. They miss the deeper lesson entirely. The deeper lesson is about perception, positioning, and the invisible psychological forces that determine who gets paid, who gets passed over, and why the gap between them is almost never about skill. Here is where it starts. Law 6 says, court attention at all costs. It sounds like vanity. It is not. It is economics. In a world drowning in information and options, invisibility is not humility, it is financial suicide. The person who does excellent work in silence and the person who does good work loudly are not rewarded equally. They never have been. Attention is the currency that converts competence into income. You can be the most skilled person in your field and earn a fraction of what a less talented but more visible competitor earns, not because the market is unfair, but because the market cannot pay what it cannot see. Psychologist Robert Cialdini spent decades studying the psychology of influence and documented this in his research on social proof and visibility. People do not evaluate quality in isolation. They evaluate it in context, and the context is almost always shaped by whoever controls attention. The person who controls attention controls the narrative. The person who controls the narrative controls the price. This is not a call to perform. It is a call to be seen. There is a difference. Performing is noise. Being seen is positioning. And positioning is the difference between being compensated at the level of your effort and being compensated at the level of your perceived value. Those two numbers are almost never the same, and the gap between them is where most people's financial frustration lies. Law 40 says, despise the free lunch. And this one cuts deeper than it first appears. Greene is not talking about frugality. He is talking about psychology. When something costs you nothing, your brain assigns it almost no value. Not because the thing has no value, but because the absence of exchange signals to your unconscious mind that it is not worth exchanging for. Free advice is ignored. Free help is taken for granted. Free access produces no commitment. This works in both directions. When you undercharge, when you discount your rates, apologize for your prices, race to the bottom in negotiation, you are not just leaving money on the table. You are psychologically devaluing yourself in the mind of the person across from you. Behavioral economist Dan Ariely demonstrated this in his research on price and perceived quality. People who paid more for the same product reported better results, felt more satisfied, and valued the experience more highly. The price itself changed the psychological reality of the exchange. What you charge is not just a number. It is a signal, and that signal travels far ahead of you into every room you enter. The people who command the highest rates in any field are almost never the most talented. They are the ones who understood early that price is a language, and they chose to speak it fluently. Law 1 says, never outshine the master. And this is the law most responsible for quiet financial self-sabotage, the kind that never announces itself, never feels like a mistake, and costs people decades of earning potential without them ever knowing why. In professional environments, in client relationships, in any dynamic where someone holds power over your financial outcomes, the instinct to demonstrate your full capability is almost always the wrong move. Not because your capability does not matter, but because the person with power over your opportunities needs to feel that they are above you. The moment they feel threatened, They find reasons to pull back, stall, or eliminate the source of the discomfort. Quietly, professionally, with a smile. This is not cynical. It is observational, and the financially intelligent response is not to shrink, it is to channel. Make your competence visible in ways that lift the person above you rather than compete with them. Let your results speak in a language that makes them look good. Your income will follow the goodwill, not the display. Law 16 says, use absence to increase respect and honor. And in financial terms, this is one of the most counterintuitive and most powerful levers available to anyone who has not yet learned to use it. Scarcity drives value, always, not artificially, genuinely. The consultant who is always available, always responsive, always ready to renegotiate their terms is not seen as dedicated. They are seen as desperate. And desperation is the single most effective signal for driving down the price. Someone is willing to pay you. When you create genuine scarcity, when you have standards about where you spend your time, when you turn down work that does not meet your terms, when you allow space between yourself and the people who want access to you, the psychological dynamic shifts entirely. Suddenly, you are no longer pursuing. You are being pursued, and the person being pursued always has more power in the negotiation than the person doing the chasing. Now here is where the psychology and the personal finance intersect most directly. Every one of these laws is operating in your financial life right now, whether you are aware of them or not. The question is whether they are working for you or against you. And most people, if they are honest, will recognize that several of these laws are running in reverse. They are making themselves invisible when they should be positioning. They are discounting when the market would pay more. They are overperforming in front of the wrong people. They are always available when scarcity would serve them better. These are not character flaws. They are patterns, and like every pattern, they can be identified, named, and interrupted. That is exactly what the free financial bias checklist is built to help you do. 10 psychological traps that map directly onto the behaviors described in the laws above. The approval trap. Spending or earning based on what others will think rather than what the market will actually bear. The perfect timing trap, waiting for conditions to feel safe before raising your rates, launching your offer, or making your move, so the move never actually happens. The invisible plan trap, having a general sense of where you want to go financially with no written number, no defined timeline, and no concrete next step. You check the ones that feel uncomfortable. The discomfort is the signal. The link is in the description. It is free. It takes 2 minutes. And most people who fill it out recognize a pattern they have been living inside for years without a name for it. Greene ends the 48 laws with something most summaries leave out. Power, he writes, is not a destination. It is a practice. Wealth works the same way. It is not a number you arrive at. It is a set of behaviors, perceptions, and psychological positions you practice consistently over time, until the market reflects back to you what you have been signaling all along. You were never taught how money actually works, not the real mechanics, not the psychology underneath the numbers, but now you have seen a corner of it, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The question is what you do next. If this video shifted something for you, drop a comment below, tell me which law hit closest to home. Subscribe for weekly breakdowns at the intersection of psychology and money. The next video is already waiting for you, and the checklist is in the description. Start there.